An upcoming Windows update is going to give you even more Windows nags. That is right, folks. Windows is going to annoy you some more. Let's go ahead and talk about this, what's going on here, and what some of your solutions might be. Welcome back to Switch to Linux. If you like this type of content, please feel free to subscribe to the channel, leave us a like and a comment down below. And today we are coming back to our Windows Wednesday, where we talk about some of the crazy things going on in Windows with maybe a little bit of subtle, A, if you're going to keep using Windows, we're going to give you a couple tips, but B, maybe it's time to start investigating what you could do with Linux. Obviously, not everybody can completely switch over to Linux, but it does make sense to try it out in at least some limited capacity. But today we are going to get some more nagging screens coming in. This is coming through the beta channels of Windows, and now we have a nagging screen to remind you to secure a Microsoft account with a backup email or phone number. I'd probably say it would say phone number. In fact, that's exactly what the nag says here. Add a recovery phone number to make sure you can get to it. I'm not sure why Windows latest focuses on the email, although that is an option. All of these companies want phone numbers. They're trying for it. Now, there are ways around it, but before we get into some of those solutions, I do want to talk about what's going on with all this kind of stuff. Obviously, as we have covered in videos on the Windows Wednesday for a while, Microsoft is doing everything it can to get you to use an online Microsoft account. Now, even in the comments down here, there's not a lot of comments in this particular video yet, or this article yet. This article is just from yesterday, I think. But everyone here's like, oh, we're using local accounts. The problem is that Microsoft is making it much, much, much harder to set up a Windows 11 computer without a Microsoft account. There are, to my knowledge, still a few ways around it. Some of these would require you to download and install Windows via a script through a third-party tool to strip some of the features out. But a lot of the ways that are published to set up Windows without the account, they're finding and blocking many of those ways. They really want everybody on there. Now, when you set up the Windows system, then in theory, you should at least be able to switch to the local account and remove the Windows account. That's a possibility, but we're talking about a lot of high friction stuff. Windows really, really, really wants you to use a Microsoft account. Why are they doing this? Well, obviously, one of the factors with how things have traditionally been done, we're talking a decade or more ago, is looking at your IP address. This is where all of these VPN services are like, protect yourself with the internet, use a VPN. A VPN only hides your IP address, which is pretty much useless in modern days. VPNs, if you're trying to protect yourself by hiding your IP address via a VPN, you are wasting your money. You're wasting your time. Now, there are other things VPNs help with, but if all you're trying to do is mask your IP address, you're not doing anything, because all of these big data collection companies, they're not paying much attention to your IP address anymore. They're paying much more attention to who you are based on the fingerprint of your computers, which Google now lets the companies do again. It does it using tracking cookies by following you online when you're quick sign in with your Google account. They're tying it back to you personally. They don't care what your IP address is anymore. So one of the things that this does when you have a Microsoft account signed into your Windows computer is they know who you are, and it doesn't matter what IP address it is. In other words, they also know it's you if you're at your coffee shop or at your house or at your job or at your school. As you're traveling around to different IP addresses, they still know it is you because you are the one that is signed in. Also, though, what makes this beneficial for them is if you, each individual person, let's say you have one computer in your house and you have two people using that one computer and they're logging into their own respective accounts, and that's tied to their own respective Microsoft account, they can make a distinction between what you do on your computer and what the other person living in your house does in your computer, even though they would share an IP address or functions like that. It ties the computer use to the person. More specific, this allows them to do more specific targeting of ads and more specific collecting of data to give to people because it's based on an individual person, not tied to the computer or the IP address or even the house in some instances. In other words, we could see these, we always hear about the music industry and the movie industry going and suing Comcast, for example, to say, give us the person that owns the system. Well, the person can say, I never downloaded anything. And now it'd be up to them to prove it. Well, now if they go and say to Microsoft who was using the computer, now Microsoft, regardless of the IP address, knows who the user is that was downloading such things. And so it gives more control to individual users. And of course, the last thing is what Microsoft has been doing lately is automatically syncing your data with their clouds, which puts your personal files on their personal computers, which means that now they have access to it. And this is not encrypted on their system in such a way that they cannot access the data that is on their systems. Now, they may not be able to access the data on your system without the encryption key, but don't forget, they back up your encryption key to your hard drive on their servers as well, which means that all of these functions of the Microsoft account lead to making you a greater target for the surveillance state if that happens to be the case. And that is the fundamental problem with having a Windows account tied to your computer. Now, with that being said, you can still switch on the local accounts, and there may still be ways of setting up Windows 11 without the Microsoft account, and you should explore those functions. If you do need to use Windows, make sure you are using a local account. But for the average normie, it is going to be a very, very high friction to not have a Microsoft account. And so the latest update is going to give you push notifications about the system. Now, mind you, this is to make sure you don't lose your data. So imagine, this is how Microsoft's press release on this goes. They say, imagine you can't access your data. You're going to lose your pictures and your contacts and all your stuff because you can't get into your Microsoft account. All right, so here's what they're doing. They want to make sure you never lose access to anything. When you are using a desktop signed into Windows 11 and they detect that you do not have a backup way of getting into that account, they're going to prompt you. Now, the prompt in this picture asks for a phone number. The text of the email says backup email or phone number to protect your Microsoft account. I will add another caveat. If you do have to use the Microsoft account with Windows, Microsoft supports hardware keys. That is what you should be using. You do not need to give Microsoft another email address. You do not need to give Microsoft a phone number. You can secure your account with passkeys, which via a hardware key. And I recommend getting 2 of them. Set up all of your accounts on both of those. And then what you're going to do is one of those stays locked in a safe or a safety deposit box or in a lockbox at a friend's house, somewhere very secure. The other one you keep with you. And then if you have some issues or some problems, then you can go and retrieve the second key and still access your account. That's really the solution. We'll talk briefly about that a little bit more later since we did a little bit more detail here. What would happen to your pictures, your files, your video settings, everything? Come on, guys, you're going to lose everything. Because of this problem we have hoisted upon you. So give us your phone number, because you can easily figure out who a person is from their phone number, or maybe a backup email. That's actually why they're prompting the phone numbers more. They say what they're doing here. This is in the dev and beta channels. The pop-up mechanism is not live for everybody yet, but they're going to prompt you for this in the condition that you're signed into your desktop with a Microsoft account and it doesn't have backup. Now, there is, in theory, a system that you can disable these pop-up notifications. They say they don't know if this will stop these particular ones, but that really is what they're saying here. And then here is that one bigger. Add a recovery phone number to make sure you always can get into your account. That's the pop-up that you're getting. Of course, there's the OneDrive nags to make sure you back up your files. You don't want to lose your files, so put them on our servers so we can sift through them and hand them over to some law enforcement agency when they ask us for a gag order warrant, because you happen to be jogging by a bank the morning it was robbed. Literally, this stuff happens, guys. This is not hypothetical. This all has happened. All right. And so that's really what they are doing. So, and here's the thing I want to emphasize here. This is what I want to stress. You're not risking losing everything because you've forgotten your password. Okay. You're going to lose everything when Microsoft's like, I just don't think you are who you say you are. I'm going to lock you for seemingly random reasons. Literally, this is random reasons. You're not forgetting your password. Okay. They're going to perceive it's not you. I deal with this with PayPal all the time. Now, I was, up till last month, using PayPal for my web design business for collecting payments. I did not know of any other solutions out there, but after they locked my account twice and they will not accept my business IP phone number, I have a VoIP phone number for my business. They will not accept that as a phone number. And they're like, you try and log in, it's like, scan this with their QR code. I'm sorry, no, I don't have a phone which is tied in to your PayPal tendrils, and so I have to call them, and then they ask these like credit check type questions. You know, what color was that car you drove in college that was falling apart? You know, I better never forget the answers to these questions. But curiously, it's the same three answers every single time. Next time I have to call them, I'm going to... Now, I have since replaced PayPal. They pissed me off to the point where I replaced them. But the point is, I was not losing my password. They were just like, I don't think it's you, bro. And they didn't provide a good way to get in. And PayPal does not support hardware keys. So I can't set up my system when they know it's me, set up a hardware key and go, okay, this is my hardware key. I can't use a two-factor authentication. I can't use an Authy app, which I could bypass with KeePass XC. The only option is a full-fledged postpaid phone number, or I forget what the other, they're insane. They're insane. For some reason, my corporate PayPal account can use an email address. Why this one can't? Beyond me. But anyway, I've gotten locked out. But I have one more fun case of seemingly random nonsense of accounts locking you down for whatever reason. So this is going back like a decade ago. I was visiting a friend in California, and this is when I didn't live anywhere near California. I'm visiting him, and we drop the computer, and the screen breaks. We are leaving the next day. I literally called a out-of-country computer company to overnight a part to an address that was not mine in a state I live hundreds, if not thousands of miles from. No problem, bro. 3 or 4 months later, I used the same debit card at a gas station a half a mile from my house, and for some reason the bank thought that was fraudulent, and they locked my account down. This is seemingly random crap. So, full circle here. Microsoft is now forcing you to log into your local computer sitting on your desk via an internet online account. And they can seemingly run and go, I don't think it's you, bro. Why not? Because I don't think it's you. I want your phone number. No. Well, something's bad's going to happen to your photos, I guess. That's what Microsoft is doing. And this is why you should be using local accounts if you're forced onto Microsoft. So this is a problem they created. And now they are adding more friction. So they have added tremendous amount of friction if you want to use your local computer without an internet-based account. And now they have tremendous friction now for even using the internet account until they slowly prod us with a cattle prod into giving up our real phone numbers, our real data, our real information, perpetually keeping us logged into their account so they always know exactly who is using the internet, what are you doing, for either selling ads or handing the data over to other people. That's a problem. Now, if you are using online accounts on Windows and you have to use Windows, use those hardware keys. There's YubiKeys. There's other ones out there now. I generally refer to them as YubiKeys because those were the first ones out there, but there are a number of other ones. I'm actually told that there are better ones now, so I'm going to research those kind of sometime soon. But this will allow you to get in and verify your account with a hardware key. Now, PayPal doesn't support those. Fortunately, Microsoft does. So you can use the hardware keys so you're not being prompted to enter a phone number. Why don't it say, hey, go get a YubiKey. They're much more privacy focused. You can verify it's always you. No. They want your phone number because it ties to you. That's what they want. They want to know how to reach you. They want to have it tied in. So when the warrant comes in, this is the person we think it is. This is the phone number. Oh yeah, look at this. We got a person with this phone number. That's what Twitter did. Right? Twitter collect your stuff before evil man bad took it over. They were saying, oh, just use this is just for security, but then they were selling those phone numbers to other people and using them for other purposes, not just related to security. So be aware of that. These companies will do this. All right. So you want to turn off those online accounts if possible, but I'm going to give you probably the better solution. Dude, switch to Linux. Switch to Linux, folks. Linux has some major advantages here. You're not going to be forced onto an online account if you're using most Linux distributions, almost all. There's a few of them. I don't think any force you in an online account. There's a few that allow it as an option. They are not going to be tracking your data for advertisers, well, unless, of course, you're using Firefox. All right. And then, of course, they're not embedding ads anywhere all over the place. At least most of them aren't. And they're not automatically syncing all of your files to some online account. In other words, with Linux, you have control over your computer and you have privacy. You're not being forced to do these nonsense things. So, of course, I recommend most people, if you're just switching to Linux and you're testing it out, to give Linux Mint a try. Head on over to linuxmint.com, hit the download button, and then you can grab your edition. I recommend the Cinnamon edition for most users. Now, I'm going to have a little caveat here. When you click, this is the install instructions. Very comprehensive install instructions. It's going to be very beneficial. Now, here is one of the things, is that this is another one of the companies that recommends Etcher right now. And the reason is Etcher is cross-platform, Windows, Linux, Mac. The problem is Etcher is now sending a bunch of data about what you're doing back to the company and possibly back to advertisers. So the great researchers over at the Tails Linux distribution warned us about this. If you did not catch this particular video, I encourage you to go check out this video here about Tails warning us about Etcher. If you are a Windows user looking to switch to Linux, you should use Rufus instead, rufus.ie. This is a very good USB writer for Windows. This one's not available on the Mac. I don't think it's available on Linux. No, it's not available on Linux either. But it is available on Windows, and you can grab it as the installable, or you can grab a portable version as well, which is what I like, so I don't have to install extra stuff on my system. Of course, if you're on Mac, you can use the Raspberry Pi Imager. You could use the Etcher if you wanted to. Maybe tell these companies, hey guys, I'm switching to Linux, yo. Track me now, bro. Last thing we know, he downloaded a Linux distribution on Etcher. We lost him ever since. So maybe that'd be a fun little send-off, right? But anyway, we'll rename the Linux distro FU Data Collectors, That'd be fun, right? So anyway, I'd recommend looking to switch to Linux if you are forced to continue using Windows. Investigate today, either adding a passkey to that so you're not being forced to hand over a phone number at some point in time in the form of a hardware key. And the other factor you can also look at is switching to that local account. So there is our thoughts. Let me know what your thoughts are about this wonderful Windows nagging screen in the comment. Subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so. Leave us a like and a comment down below. And I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.